Hey everybody, and welcome to another segment of AstrologyAnswers.com's weekly forecast. My name is Terence. The week begins on Monday, February the 13th. Overall, this is a very active but more positive week. A lot of movement going into the new year. On Monday, the moon that sets the public tone, the general public reaction, is in Scorpio. Scorpio can be very private, but certainly very intense and passionate. The moon will be in a stressful angle at early afternoon Pacific time. That might be a time for an hour or two where communications are feeling more strained or you're more worried. Plus, the moon will leave Scorpio, intense Scorpio, and move into friendly, outgoing, fiery Sagittarius around 5:32 p.m. Pacific time. The Scorpio energy is much more introverted energy, and the Sagittarius is very extroverted, adventurous energies. On Tuesday, as the moon continues in Sagittarius, because the moon goes through each sign for about 2.5 days. On Tuesday, around 9:10 a.m. Pacific time, the moon will be in harmony with expansive, optimistic Jupiter. In fact, Jupiter is the planet that is associated with the sign Sagittarius. So the moon's in Sagittarius, being very favorably aspected by its ruling planet. This is a really favorable time for making plans, especially all things Jupiter, which is traveling, teaching, education, marketing. But by 6-7 p.m. Pacific time, the moon will be in opposition, which is that confrontational energy with impatient Mars. So the day starts off really upbeat and optimistic, but you might be a bit irritable and stressed out later in the day. On Wednesday, the moon continues in Sagittarius, but it's going to be in a stressful angle to Venus and Neptune. Venus is relationships. Neptune can be this dreamy, nebulous energies. It can be very creative, can be very romantic, but the moon is in tension with it. So there's all this desire for connection, but you're feeling like you're with other people, friendships, partners, that you're just not feeling like you're getting your needs met. You're sort of like off track. Now, the whole day, Venus, loving, relational, cooperative Venus, will be aligning with Neptune. It's just around late morning, 11 a.m. up to 1 p.m. Pacific time, that you're having this kind of relational mishaps, confusions. But overall, having Venus aligned with Neptune, Neptune is this inspiring energy, this charitable energy. And Venus-Neptune can trigger a lot of unconditional love, tremendous romantic energies, charity, and a lot of creativity. Or if you're not an artist, you could be swept away with the magic of a story in a book, in a TV, in a movie. Now, the moon on Wednesday will go void, of course, at 5:07 p.m. until 9:01 p.m. Pacific time. As I mention every week, when the moon is changing signs but no longer making aspects to other planets, the energy is flat. It's called void, of course, and it's not advised to be making important decisions or starting important events because the energy is unproductive. But by 9:01 p.m. Pacific time, the moon leaves Sagittarius and that void energy and goes into productive, goal-oriented business Capricorn for those next 2.5 days. So on Thursday, the moon is in that grounded, stabilizing Capricorn energy. The sun, the whole day, will be putting a spotlight on Saturn. Saturn is the planet associated with Capricorn. So this is a very Capricorn-Saturn day. Now, on the positive, this can be a day of taking on major responsibilities, major commitments, being really focused on business. But this also can be, if you don't have any major goals to direct your energy towards, you may be feeling more confined, more restricted. So that Sun Saturn wants to manifest any new projects, building foundations. But if you don't have any goals, then you're just going to feel restricted. Friday, the moon continues in pragmatic business Capricorn, but Mercury, discerning Mercury, communication Mercury, will be in harmony with optimistic, expansive Jupiter. Mercury is all these discussions, making decisions, excellent with Jupiter. You are feeling so much more lucky, expansive. That's a good day for making long-range plans, because the Mercury is the planning and the Jupiter is all that optimism for the future. This is an excellent day for traveling, for publishing, for education. In other words, all things associated with Jupiter. Around 5 p.m., 6 p.m. Pacific time on Friday, the moon will be in harmony with compromising, cooperative, pleasurable Venus. It's for at least from the Pacific coast, maybe even up to the East Coast, this is a very favorable evening for socializing, for going on a date, for really enjoying any type of entertainment venues. On Saturday, the moon will enter into Aquarius. Aquarius, and it'll be in Aquarius for the weekend. Aquarius focuses a lot on group activities, friendships, wanting to be innovative, try new things, shaking things up. Capricorn tends to be conventional. But when you go into Aquarius, Aquarius is more unconventional. But also, it's an important day because the sun that's been in Aquarius will enter into Pisces at 2:35 p.m. Pacific time. With the sun in Aquarius, the overall energy is more mental, more intellectual, and can sometimes come off a little bit more aloof. Whereas when the sun goes into Pisces for those next 4 weeks, Pisces is very empathetic, compassionate, sensitive, giving. So you're going to see going out of, on Saturday, you're leaving the energy that is supporting many people to be in their heads. And then the sun goes into Pisces and compelling most of us to go into our hearts. On Sunday, as the moon continues in Aquarius, Venus, relational, pleasurable Venus, will be in harmony with intense, passionate Pluto. This can trigger a lot of strong desires, can be very romantic, can certainly be highly creative. Now, there's going to be a new moon in Pisces around after 11:06 p.m. Pacific time. So for most of the world, the next new moon will be on Monday. So where Pisces falls in your horoscope, or how Pisces impacts your chart, the new moon is directing your energies towards that focus. And that overall Pisces energy with the sun in Pisces, it's much more empathetic and charitable. So I want to thank you for tuning in. I hope to see you next week with my next segment. Until then, be safe and well.